The views and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and producers and are not those of Apple or any authorized service provider. Information provided is purely for entertainment purposes only. For more information about products and services discussed in this program, we invite you to visit a corporate Apple store or an approved, certified Apple service and sales center.
Today we celebrate the first.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
You're stealing from us!
Don't Sculley Around.
The Apple podcast that brings you information from both sides of the counter.
Downloading things illegally onto your Mac while plugging your phone into your Mac and syncing it simultaneously and downloading bad software onto your stuff. So if you're in that predicament, please don't do that. It's really bad.
From both the customer and the sales and service provider's point of view.
You want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?
Because we don't scully around.
What can I say? I hired the wrong guy.
macOS is loved by everyone from students and creatives to developers and anyone who appreciates its beautifully simple and powerful experience. This year, we're building on what you love most about macOS with a release made for all of its different users. But what should we call it? Well, our crack product marketing team was adamant that they'd fully earned their annual paycheck the moment they noticed that years end in two-digit numbers. But macOS demands more. Fortunately, after carving some bodacious tracks during one of their mandatory weekly ski strategy sessions, they bumbled into their legendary microbus and let gravity guide them to a breathtaking spot where crystal clear waters meet majestic mountain peaks. They'd found it. Let me introduce you to macOS Tahoe. macOS Tahoe is all about giving you beautiful and powerful tools for the unique ways you use Mac. It includes many of the features you heard about in iOS, like backgrounds and screening tools in Messages, more options in Image Playground and Genmoji, and live translation. And it introduces many more updates, taking the macOS experience to the next level, starting with a stunning new design. It elevates the iconic elements of macOS, making them at once fresh and timelessly Mac. From the moment you unlock, the desktop is instantly familiar. Widgets, the dock, and app icons have been refined with liquid glass, which also elevates the experience in your apps. Sidebars and toolbars reflect the depth of your workspace and offer a subtle hint of the content within easy reach as you scroll. This updated design doesn't just look stunning, it also enhances the macOS experience in new ways. The menu bar is now completely transparent, making your display feel larger. And there are more ways to customize what controls appear in the menu bar and control center, and how they're laid out. There are so many new controls to choose from. You can even add controls for your favorite Mac apps like Zoom, and iPhone apps too. We've also unlocked entirely new ways to personalize your Mac. You can change the color of your folders and add a symbol or emoji to give them a unique identity. It's fantastic for projects. Along with your personalized wallpaper and theme colors, it's easier than ever to make your Mac a seamless extension of your style. You can go for that sleek, clear look, or dial up the dark aesthetic to match your workspace. No matter what you do, this new design makes the macOS experience even more vibrant, expressive, and personal. Speaking of great new experiences, let's talk about the power of continuity. Continuity helps you work seamlessly across Apple devices, and we're excited to introduce two new continuity features. First, we're bringing live activities to Mac. So if you've ordered Uber Eats on your iPhone, the live activity also appears in the menu bar. And when you click, the app opens in iPhone mirroring, so you can take action directly on your Mac. We're also enhancing the calling experience by bringing the Phone app to Mac. You can conveniently access your familiar content, like recents, contacts, and voicemail, synced from iPhone, and easily make a call with just a click. Incoming calls look beautiful on the bigger screen, featuring stunning contact posters of your friends and family. And the Phone app on Mac includes all the great updates we talked about earlier, like Hold Assist, call screening, and live translation. So that's what's new in continuity.
So what's with the hair?
What?
What?
Like, what's with the hair swooshing?
What? It's Hair Force One. I'm inspired by the great hair of Craig Federighi.
So you want gray hair? I thought you were proud not to have it.
No, I just want the big, beautiful hair that Craig Federighi has. I don't want the gray hair.
Doesn't everybody love your hair that, like, talks to you? I mean, at our wedding, seriously, everybody came up to you and went, how'd you do it? I'm not responding with what you responded.
Anyway, welcome to Don't Sculley Around.
How do you always find something that I say that I don't remember
the
saying?
Apple podcast hosted by two Apple technicians. And we're happy to be back here with you on our fourth show.
That might be a bad thing.
And guess what? The last time we tried doing this 7 years ago, we only did 3 shows.
Woo!
Now
Record.
we've broken through, and now we're at show number 4.
Yeah.
So
it is helpful when we can do it at the kitchen counter, desk,
yeah,
table.
It's very exciting to be back here with you on this edition of Don't Sculley Around, where we're going to talk about macOS Tahoe, some of the neat new features, as well as the new Apple design language, which they're calling liquid glass.
Steve has a thought about that.
You wanted to lick it.
He just didn't know he had a thought about that. That may have been for a different operating system, but this is very reminiscent.
Very reminiscent of Aqua.
I mean,
You wanted to lick it.
You're going to just keep hitting that, aren't you? So, just to be clear, macOS Tahoe, also version 26, because why would we continue to count? Now we can do the year, which it's going to come out this fall, so, you know, that's definitely 2026. But anyway.
That's okay. It's fine.
Math doesn't matter.
The crack design team discovered that years end in 2 numbers.
Yeah, but this year ends in a different 2 number.
Well, I don't know.
It's complicated.
It's complicated.
There was some smoke involved.
Yes.
So anyway.
I think Windows 98 came out in 99, and I don't know. It's
math doesn't matter.
It's confusing. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new things. I forgot the phone app is going to come over to macOS. Now, I've been using the continuity of your iPhone being able to pop up on your screen. In fact, you can play games that are on your phone on your computer if those games aren't available on macOS, except
you have to be able to access your phone and unlock your phone.
You have to unlock
your phone. Incredibly annoying when your phone is dying.
But trying to play Angry Birds on my phone with the mouse doesn't really work. But it is kind of cool because if you're playing a game that's widescreen, the orientation of your virtual phone that's on your screen rotates. It goes from portrait mode to widescreen mode, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I've played my silly games that way because that's definitely what the whole point of it is.
Right. It's not about continuity camera. It's not about syncing your workflow across all your Apple devices.
It's not efficient. It's about playing a game.
It's about playing a stupid game.
So macOS Tahoe, there's actually been some things that I forgot about, like Spotlight search, which was I actually already liked Spotlight, but mainly because I could do basic math in front of my face without having to open up the calculator app every time. They're blowing that guy up. So it's getting a lot more detail. Like you can actually give it commands and not just the open this file. Like an example from their website is they're saying send let's meet at the studio to these particular recipients. So you can be that specific and a lot more from there. But it can all be done by just hitting command spacebar and typing.
But you can also do that by summoning Siri.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk to it. I mean, yeah, you can type, but Siri's also dumb sometimes. I mean, Siri's the best. The live activities is definitely interesting. Mainly, I'm just thinking Uber. I'm not really an Uber person. If I'm on my laptop and I'm waiting for an Uber, that seems wrong because I need to close my laptop and pack it up to go in the Uber. But I was thinking like DoorDash type things, basically progress of that. Possibly flights would be interesting because when you fly away somewhere and I am the panicked wife wondering, is he alive? I can get the constant updates at the top of the screen, which I'll probably love and hate. And then the widgets, that's something I've never fully embraced. Maybe it's just because I don't like a lot of clutter on my screen, even though I clutter up my screen in other ways. And more Apple Intelligence is coming. Just more. Whatever more is.
Whatever more is.
I mean, the design is interesting. I am concerned about longtime users who don't like change, I think is a good way to say it. It's going to be different. The last time we did different, it was great. Being a person that has to help explain why do things look like this, I mean, it's my job, but it's it's not my favorite part.
Isn't with the glass design, we're actually going to lose the colors
It could be
in
harder
the corner
to
of the
see.
windows?
It could be harder to see. Like you can still see it because they've kind of like rounded the edges and made them white around the edges. But if you already had issues with contrast issues, now it's going to be worse. So I am a bit worried about that for my customers who resist change, I think is a nice way to put it.
And
It
the
does-
customers that are using the accessibility settings. Both myself and another technician looked at a customer's computer and we needed to make an adjustment. And we finally, in the end, we looked at our computer screen and we looked at the customer's menu and we're like, where's that slide bar that's supposed to be there in this menu? And we found out that the person had their contrast up so high that like the slider bar that they needed to adjust something on their computer, because I think they wanted to be able to adjust like the text size, and they're like, I can't adjust the text size. And when we're like, you're right, because the slider isn't there to do it because your contrast is up too high.
So, funny story. A former coworker, she had issues trying to order some parts to a point where she had to reach out to the vendor. And the reason why she couldn't order the parts was because her contrast was up so high that she couldn't see the checkbox. And I didn't really have the heart to explain that to her. I mean, that's why I could find it instantly. She didn't know how I could find it instantly, and I just moved on because I didn't need to rub anything in. So they are rounding the corners more, which seems mild, but it actually fits with the newer MacBook Pro, MacBook Air line. And the corners are literally they are like the same curvature of the screens now, at least the top right and left corners. There's going to be updated app icons. I'm also kind of concerned about the transparency and being able to see your apps down on the dock for those who have vision issues. I'm concerned that may be hard. I mean, if they still keep the dock where you can move your mouse over them and see the name of it, I guess that kind of takes care of that. But also, if the dock was in the way, there was an option called hide. Why did we need to make it translucent?
I don't know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a giant Apple hater or something like that. I just don't quite understand that.
But being able to change the colors of your apps and changing the colors of your folders and add emojis to them, that's kind of cute. I mean, it's gimmicky, but it could be useful for organization.
I also like the screening unwanted calls so that it picks up and it'll tell you what they're saying, and then you can decline it from there. Like, it doesn't pick it up where you've actually answered it. It's just doing a screening, which honestly, I don't want to know how that works. That's kind of neat because, if it's not really real, as well as you can put yourself on hold and your computer will transcribe and tell you when they're back, which is nice. So you don't have to just sit there and stop everything you're doing while you're waiting for your health insurance company to figure out how to answer a phone.
Only to deny you. But you were also talking before we went on about some of the features you're actually looking forward to on iPad OS.
iPad OS, I am so excited for that. Mainly because it feels like they're making the iPads just closer to a computer. It's not a computer. I don't even know if they're ever going to get to making them a full computer, but it's a lot closer. Basically, the big thing is not only does it get all these fancy things that we've been talking about, it gets windowing. So currently, if you wanted to open more than one app at once, you have to make them side by side. They have to take up the whole entire screen or a third of the screen with three other things there. You can't put one thing physically on top of the other. And I'm not talking about the little icons. I mean, like, here's a Safari browser open and I put my Photos app on top of it. And I know that seems like a basic thing for the Mac system, but it's not something that's an option on the iPad system. They're also bringing in a Finder menu bar type thing when you're in those apps. So there'll be File. You could do File Save on an iPad without it auto-saving, as well as other things. But I'm really excited for that. There's, I know another person in my life, he really wants to switch to iPad because he really doesn't use a computer for that much, but he wants to be able to play his music as well as do a video call of some kind and still hear the music at the same time that he's doing this video call without one or the other being faded out. He wants to be able to hear the volume at the same volume. He's very music specific. Music is his life. And he's struggled with that, and he can only do it through a computer. So he's hoping that the new iPad system might be an option for that. I'm still not 100% sure because it is just such a small, minute number who are looking for that. But I am curious, as well as it really feels like when I saw it, I was like, oh, I could go on my business trips with my iPad now, and it'll feel pretty darn similar to going with my laptop. I just need to figure out ways to remote into computers from afar, but that's for my own reasons. There's a lot that's coming to this, as well as it does hit the iPhone, it hits watchOS, it hits visionOS. This is the first time they're making everything have the same design style. It's not like laminating it all and making the iPad OS the major OS that's on everything like other software options have tried and failed in the past, to not name anybody in particular, but the other big one.
Our friends in Seattle, as they are called.
Yeah, and they picked a number called 8. So not redoing that disaster. And so it's not like they're paving it all and making it all exactly the same, which I appreciate, as well as having things on a not just attacking it mode. One of the things too about this though is we have a lot of people who are switching to Mac because they have an iPhone or because they have an iPad, and they figure that's all going to be the same. And it's always a bit of a jarring experience, especially if they're coming from other things, whether they've used a computer before or not. A Mac is not an iPad and not an iPhone.
Yes.
An iPhone and iPad are pretty much the same. Well, there's differences, but they're very similar. And so this, I think, will help it feel a little less jarring. It's still going to be jarring because it's still not a touchscreen. It's still navigated differently. Visually, having everything look and feel the same as it does on your phone, as it does on your iPad, if you're those people that are transferring over. It definitely, I mean, one of the biggest things when I'm talking to those types of people is they're always like, well, how do I download all of my apps? And they tell me the apps that they download, and at least 75% of those on a computer is a website. I can't tell you how many people go, how do I get Netflix on my computer? And I'm like, you open up the web browser and you go to Netflix, and they just look at me like I just broke their brain.
Right.
And how do I get to my bank app? You don't need an app. You can just go to the website and you can sign into your banking app. That's actually how they started.
Right.
It's like a lot of people just who are phone and iPad first or ever do not understand how the computer is, which is actually really interesting if you think about it, because the computer evolved so that we could get to iPads and iPhones. And now people are going the reverse and going, this is foreign.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting over the last 5 years to watch, obviously, the proliferation of keyboard cases that now have trackpads in them, and they've added sort of a mouse pointer support, and
a charger.
And I think the new iOS is actually going to have a proper mouse pointer.
Yeah, it's going to
built into it, rather than just having
cursor.
this round dot thing. So that's going to be really exciting.
It feels more like a computer. They're not. I don't even know if they're ever going to merge it. I mean, it would be neat, but also it's like it's not. It's a good in between.
Well, it's still, the price is considerable. Once you buy an iPad in the case with the keyboard, you're almost up to the cost of an entry-level MacBook Air.
You're supposed to close your eyes and just buy it anyway.
I know.
I mean, considering that the iPad Pros tend to get the new Apple Silicon chip before any of the computers do, is kind of crazy. They started a pattern where the MacBook Airs would get the new one, and then it would hit the Pros once they made sure everything was happy. Now it's the iPad Pros get it, and then the iPad Airs get the previous generation chip, and then the MacBook Airs get them, and then the MacBook Pro gets it eventually. And the MacBook Pros, they do get the more powerful chip, but it's also just like, we're going to see if this worked. Hey, people like it! Actually, listening to a lot of some of our favorite YouTubers, or some of my favorite YouTubers and the ones you don't like, it's really interesting to hear their point of views on it, that a lot of them have actually switched from using a computer or a MacBook Air to using their iPad instead, because it's lighter, smaller, easier to travel with. You can just take the screen with you without having to take the keyboard with you. Also, I think it is so cool. I know it's not magic. I know how it works, but I really want to call it magic. The fact that the keyboard case that they have for the iPads can plug in and then just charge your iPad through three little dots and magnets. It's not magic, but it's magic, dude. That is so cool. I gush about it. I love plugging it in every single day at work when we're putting the iPads out. I hate actually unplugging it, and it feels like a laptop. I do wish there were more angles with it, but like, that's so cool. You never have to charge a keyboard. We always had to because it was Bluetooth and it was a separate part, but this is just, nope. As well as it saved several iPads that the charging ports are destroyed for reasons that I don't even know. Instead of sitting there going, sorry, that's going to be like $700 to $800 to replace, you should probably buy a new one, I can go, here's up to a $399 replacement keyboard that'll charge your iPad and it'll still work. I love being able to pull that out and go, have you tried this?
That's fantastic. With macOS Tahoe, we're going to see some things going away, and it's going to be an interesting transition. We have over the last few years transitioned from Intel to Apple Silicon, and
processors, those are the processors.
And it has been an amazing transition, but it wasn't that long ago. In fact, it was 20 years ago that Apple went as far as they could with PowerPC and got into Intel.
For some people, that's a long time ago.
It is a long time ago. So let's take you back to WWDC 2005 and Steve Jobs talking about the transition to Intel.
Whoosh.
Now, let's go to a big topic. Transitions. Let's talk about transitions. The Mac in its history has had two major transitions so far, right? The first one, 68K to PowerPC. And that transition happened about 10 years ago in the mid-90s. I wasn't here then, but the team then did a great job from everything I hear. And the PowerPC set Apple up for the next decade. It was a good move. The second major transition, though, has been even bigger. And that's the transition from OS 9 to OS 10 that we just finished a few years ago, the early part of this decade. This was a brain transplant. And even though these operating systems vary in name only by one, they are worlds apart in their technology. OS 10 is the most advanced operating system on the planet, and it has set Apple up for the next 20 years. Today, it's time to begin a third transition. We want to constantly be making the best computers for you and the rest of our users. And so it's time for a third transition, and yes, it's true. We are going to begin the transition from the PowerPC to Intel processors, and we are going to begin it for you now and for our customers next year. Now, why are we going to do this? Right? Didn't we just get through going from OS 9 to OS 10? Isn't the business great right now? Why do we want another transition? Because we want to be making the best computers for our customer looking forward. Now, I stood up here 2 years ago in front of you, and I promised you this. And we haven't been able to deliver that to you yet. I think a lot of you would like a G5 in your PowerBook, and we haven't been able to deliver that to you yet. But these aren't even the most important reasons. The most important reasons are that as we look ahead, though we have great products right now, and we've got some great PowerPC products still yet to come, as we look ahead, we can envision some amazing products we want to build for you. And we don't know how to build them with the future PowerPC roadmap. And that's why we're going to do this. When we look at Intel, they've got great performance, yes, but they've got something else that's very important to us. Just as important as performance is power consumption. And the way we look at it is performance per watt. For 1 watt of power, how much performance do you get? And when we look at the future roadmaps projected out mid-2006 and beyond, what we see is the PowerPC gives us sort of 15 units of performance per watt. But the Intel roadmap in the future gives us 70. And so this tells us what we have to do. Now, this is not going to be a transition that happens overnight. It's going to happen over a period of a few years. Again, we've got great products right now, and we've got some great PowerPC products in the pipeline yet to be introduced. But starting next year, we will begin introducing Macs with Intel processors in them, and over time, this transition will occur. So when we meet here again this time next year, our plan is to be shipping Macs with Intel processors by then. And when we meet here again 2 years from now, our plan is that the transition will be mostly complete, and we think it will be complete by the end of 2007. So this is a 2-year transition. So, first transition, 68K PowerPC. Second transition, OS 9 to OS 10, We're going to begin a third transition from the PowerPC to Intel processors. There are two major challenges in this transition. The first one is making macOS 10 sing on Intel processors, right? Now, I have something to tell you today. macOS 10 has been leading a secret double life for the past 5 years. There have been rumors to this effect, but this is Apple's campus in Cupertino. Let's zoom in on it. In that building right there, we've had teams doing the just-in-case scenario. And our rules have been that our designs for OS 10 must be processor independent, and that every project must be built for both the PowerPC and Intel processors. And so today, for the first time, I can confirm the rumors that every release of macOS 10 has been compiled for both PowerPC and Intel. This has been going on for the last 5 years. Just in case. So macOS 10 is cross-platform by design, right from the very beginning. So, macOS 10 is singing on Intel processors, and I'd just like to show you right now. As a matter of fact, this system I've been using here, let's go have a look. Let's go have a look here.
From WWDC 2005, there's Steve Jobs talking about the transition from PowerPC to Intel, and now we are on the fourth generation Apple Silicon with...
Fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
Sorry.
And,
Bounce me.
And it's just an absolutely amazing...
Time to be in technology,
what we're able
honestly.
to do with the Apple Silicon Macs. There are some things that we can't do with them, and there are certain things involving data transfers that many of us are not happy with, and maybe Apple will listen to us and put the mode
it's a
back
security
into...
issue.
Yeah, it's a security issue. Tell that to the technicians trying to transfer someone's data on a computer that's coughing up blood virtually.
Yeah, well, they've been not caring about that for a while now. It's called when they stopped making drives removable, let alone upgradable. I mean, I have also questions like, when was it ever a problem to plug a keyboard into a computer? When was a keyboard going to hack into your computer?
That's true. The fact that we have to, if we plug in a new device to our computer, we have to give it permission, which is really hard to do when your trackpad is dead.
Or when your keyboard is dead, or when both is dead, and you're trying to just get the data off to go to a new computer. It's great to have to sit there and go, or when your screen is dead, and you have to close your screen to use it, and you have to plug in a keyboard and a mouse to try and use it because you can't use the keyboard because the screen's on it.
But you have to give that external device permission to connect to your computer.
Yes, and you have to make sure you line it up. I spent 10 minutes with a guy out on the sales floor going, I moved the mouse an inch. Oop, I moved it too far. Oops, 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 I moved it too far. Oh my God, it was insane. I did get it.
And if
but...
you want to use that external device, you have to be logged into your computer to give it permission.
Yes, and if you can't do that, then sorry.
But let's briefly in this really extended show talk a little bit about macOS Tahoe is going to be the last version of macOS to support the Intel Macs. And you already told me like 2 weeks ago that your grandfather was frantic that he was going to have to buy a new computer and that he was so much in trouble with macOS Tahoe coming out and his iMac isn't going to be supported after this, and what am I going to do?
So while macOS Tahoe is the last version to support Intel Macs, which is sad, tear in the eye, it doesn't mean your computer spontaneously stops functioning. It also doesn't mean it becomes instantly insecure. It just means that Apple will stop. Your computer is not going to get the next operating system, which would be, if they actually follow the next one, would be macOS 27. It just means you can't get to that. that, again, doesn't mean your computer stops functioning. It actually will continue working just fine. You'll still get updates and all of that. You just won't get the latest operating system with the latest features, which honestly you've been losing anyway in the Intel world because half the features can only work on Apple Silicon for processing power reasons or undisclosed reasons.
That is true. And to be fair, even though Apple says that's not the case, we have been noticing that Intel Macs have slowed down considerably since macOS Ventura came out, because it was just a completely different change in the architecture. And it's been kind of like, we're sorry. I mean, many PC users noticed that too in the transition from 7 to 10 or 8 to 10, because
even 10 to 11.
Yeah, Microsoft didn't notice it. I mean, PC users didn't notice at the time, but it really seemed like Windows 10 was more optimized solid state drives, or at least if your computer was rated.
More tangents.
Yeah, to not go off on too much of a tangent, it's not 100% a bad thing that your Intel Mac is going to be no longer supported, and this isn't planned obsolescence. It's just, do you really expect computer manufacturers to continue to write operating systems for obsolete, slower hardware while they're at the same time trying to progress and move forward?
And the other thing too is, as I was saying, is your computer doesn't stop working. You'll actually still get updates if Apple follows the normal patterns. You'll still get updates for at least another 2 years, maybe 3 years, before macOS Tahoe is no longer supported. Once you hit that point, that's kind of the cutoff, but you usually can get about 5 to 7 years. I've seen 10, but that's for people with a heck of a lot more patience than I have. There are some things you can do to Band-Aid. What happens when those updates stop coming through and you can't get them anymore is eventually you will start having internet problems, weird internet issues. And by that I mean when you're going online to go to a website, it'll look different, it'll behave incorrectly, it won't load right, it'll just be weird. And I couldn't tell you what weird is going to be until it happens. Facebook is usually one of the first ones to be hit. You can Band-Aid that by installing other internet browsers besides Safari. Safari is only updated through the operating system. You could install Firefox. We tend to find Google Chrome goes the longest, but also bear in mind Google Chrome is a resource hog. It will use every bit of processor it can get its little hands on and every bit of RAM it can get its hands on. It's not a bad app. It just does that. Doesn't matter if you're a PC, Mac user, iPad, iPhone. It's just the nature of Google Chrome. Also bear in mind that Brave and Opera and other Chromium and other things are actually based on Google Chrome, so they use the same amount of processing power. I could go through a few more, but honestly, if you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, Google search what Google Chrome is the backbone for other internet browsers that are out there. But Google Chrome is the one that seems to go the longest. That's the one that I usually see people being able to get about 10 years out of. If you don't need the internet on your computer, so long as the hardware still works on that computer will be fine. When the hardware eventually goes, and it is a when, then that's when it's at its last legs. Also, when a computer hits vintage, according to Apple, that means that they stop producing hardware parts for it. Vintage and the operating system stop being supported, that they kind of go hand in hand. Once Apple stops supporting the operating system, that is kind of, as I call it, borrowed time. You could probably get about another year out of it before you really need to replace it. And that was actually the conversation I had with my grandfather, because also my grandfather is older, significantly older, and it becomes a discussion of, is it worth putting that much money in considering his age? Is he going to get the use out of it, I think is a nice way to put it. So we had that discussion because honestly for him, he probably will be fine, considering he's 93. But we will see how that goes. So yeah, looking at 9 to 5 Mac, they said during the platform State of the Union at WWDC this year, Apple announced that macOS Tahoe will be the last released version of macOS that supports Intel. That means that after that, anybody who has Apple Silicon Macs will get the latest, but Intel will not. But again, it doesn't mean your computer just goes, poof, I'm done. I mean, it could, but don't spill water on it.
And it's tough too, because we have those customers that were sort of on that, like the transition from PowerPC to Intel, the idea that you bought a Mac, especially the folks that bought iMacs in 2020, to find out that their computer is going to no longer be supported after this iteration of macOS can be frustrating, especially for the folks that bought.
It's not going to be supported. It's not going to get the latest version.
Not going to it can be frustrating.
It can. I mean, also that was 2020, and it's 2025, and this is going to be 2026, and that'll support it through 2026. So you are getting 5 to 6 years out of it, which is the general lifespan of a Mac.
Yeah. But we also know the Mac. Tahoe itself as an operating system is going to be supported for several years to come.
Yeah, and I mean, Apple has been doing this. They actually are kind of staying on their normal pattern, and it's actually been interesting to watch over the past 3 years. 3 years ago, whenever new operating systems and new computers come out, it's the service manager or the service team's joyous ball of fun. And in my case, I love doing this, to upgrade everything to the operating system that Apple tells us we have to jump to be able to run our testing. 3 years ago, when that happened, it stopped us from being able to do hardware repairs on Intel computers because we had to be on the latest operating system to do that. The year after that, which had the same requirements, we still had to upgrade and all of that, not a big deal because we're not really doing that many Intel hardware repairs. And now, I honestly was talking to a coworker today and saying, wait, how many Intel machines have you actually done hardware repairs on? And that means like replacing the screen or replacing the logic board or the top case or a trackpad or a battery. And we both kind of went, it's been a while. Most of the time when we're seeing those Intel machines, we're migrating them to new computers.
That is true.
So that transition is really happening. I do know at our place, we do try to advise and educate our customers to make sure they're making an educated decision as to whether or not it's worth putting the money into the computer for a repair or looking at a newer option. Like, we actually will put it in our notes of this is how much it costs to repair, this is how much an equivalent machine it costs, including data migration and all of that, and also bearing in mind warranties, because we know that information, but the average user may not. So we have been advising people with the Intel machines to look at newer computers for probably about a year now, just because Apple is doing this big push to the Apple Silicon. Now, does that seem like, oh my God, why did I spend my money on that computer? Again, these are going to be 6-year-old computers when macOS Tahoe is the last operating system, possibly 10-year-old. So they're actually staying right on par with what they normally do. Honestly, the Apple Silicon processors are amazing. I am seeing 2020 MacBook Airs that have Apple Silicon. They were the first MacBook Airs to have Apple Silicon. That the only reason we have people upgrading is because they physically broke the computer. Everybody else who has those, they still feel brand new. I actually have a first generation Apple Silicon MacBook Air that I had for work. I have still used it here and there, honestly, as a tester machine. It still feels brand new. If I had a 2015 computer that I used in 2020, there is no way I would be happy with it other than going, ooh, isn't the screen pretty? Like, I can't, as a person who notices the slowdowns on computers rapidly, after usually 2 years, I'm sick of it, I want a new computer, but I live with it. I have not felt that with a single one of the Apple Silicon machines that I have had the pleasure of using. They feel as fast as they did the day they came out. When they say that they are energy efficient, that doesn't mean, cool, it doesn't pull too much energy from the wall and it doesn't cost me as much to run it, which honestly is what I thought they were saying. No, it means that the whole computer is energy efficient. It uses the energy efficiently to run what it needs to do. And it's constantly updating and managing itself. And they are just so intelligent, it's crazy. I call them crazy fast because I don't have better descriptions. And then Apple came up with scary fast. But
and to say that about a 5-year-old machine is amazing.
Yeah, it's a 5-year-old machine. Actually, the MacBook Pro that we do a lot of our editing on is an M1 Pro, and it's fine. Like, there's nothing, I'm not upset with it. It still feels honestly, it still feels brand new.
I think probably one of the drawbacks right now for users that are going to be coming over from desktops is Apple just does not have any interest in putting the Pro chips in the iMac. We don't know why, but we can tell you from experience that the new Mac Mini is unbelievable.
It's awesome. It's so adorable and so powerful.
It's
How is
unbelievable
it possible?
what you can do with that computer.
I made a picture of a cake out of it.
And the processor, it'd be able to have the Pro processor in that small form factor, and you just buy whatever screen you want and keyboard, and you're off to the races. These aren't like the old Mac Minis. This is like the Mac Mini on steroids. And if you want a Mac Mini that's truly on steroids, get the Mac Studio.
And honestly, it's hard when we talk about Mac Studios at this point to be selling them versus the Mac Mini. It is actually a tough conversation to have. Also, haven't sold a Mac Pro in 4 years. I'm just going to say the Mac Studio does a pretty good job of beating that one into the ground. Hopefully they'll do something with that or either discontinue it and do something else, but I don't think they can because there are still people who want to be able to put their own cards into the machine for good reason.
And the cheese grater is on Apple Silicon?
It is.
I did not know that. It doesn't seem like Apple advertises it that much.
M2 Pro, M2.
Yeah,
It's an M2 processor.
While the M4 Pro processor is in the Mac Mini.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh. It's their powerhouse-ish. Yeah, no, that's been an ongoing thing, let alone the M3 Ultra versus not going through to an M4 Ultra. That doesn't exist. But the M4 Ultra is more powerful than the M4 Max because brain. The Apple has reasons. I could read them to you. I don't understand. It's interesting. It's kind of sad, but it's also, I think it is time for the Intel machines to move on. And honestly, I look forward to every person who has to get that newer machine to experience the speed and the reliability of that machine. We're in the future, dude.
Yes, and the future is looking bright. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Don't Sculley Around. As always, we encourage you to take your Apple devices, especially the ones that are actually under warranty, to an Apple authorized service center or a Apple store and get them properly worked on. When we come back on our next show, I think we're gonna actually talk about some repair strategies and maybe even a very extremely tiny device that is in your MacBook Pro and your MacBook Air.
That is way too powerful.
That is way too powerful and causes the strangest things to happen to your computer that you have no idea how much this little tiny...
With the most annoying screw ever that can't be magnetized because,
the thing itself is a magnet. But we'll talk about that on a future edition of Don't Sculley Around.
And if any of you know where Chris gets all of these awesome things that I apparently have said, please put them in the comments so I can figure out what episode I said them in and get the full reference, because when did I say that? I swear that should be its own show.
Don't forget, like and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. Don't Sculley Around. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube.
Follow us on YouTube. You can also subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Are we also on SoundCloud and Podomatic?
We're on Podomatic. We're not on SoundCloud anymore.
Okay, well, we're on a lot.
We're on a lot.
Everywhere, and like us everywhere.
Like us everywhere.
We like you.
Please leave a comment. And if you have any questions for us, or you have any problems with your computer and you want to just ask some questions, we'll be happy to answer them on the show. Don't Sculley Around at gmail.com. We'll see you next time here on
Don't Sculley Around.